Let's quickly go back to our yesterday's classroom. Yesterday we were discussing about our geomorphology, that is interior of the earth, right? In the interior of the earth, I told you, we have studied the interior of the earth extensively using what? Using the seismic waves. Now what are seismic waves? These are waves which are generated when there is an earthquake, right? Now these waves are broadly be classified into body waves and surface waves. Okay? Now these body waves are further classified as primary waves and secondary waves. Okay? P waves and S waves. Now these P waves, they are primary, they travel faster, they can travel through solid, liquid and gaseous. S waves, they can only travel through solid, right? Now by this, they have also understood that the laboratory studies that have been done in the laboratory by using the generation of earthquakes in a man-made environment. So we got to understand that these waves, if the density of the material increases, the velocity of the wave also increased. And P waves, they can pass through solid, liquid and gases. That's the reason why they have identified that if there is an area where P waves are present but S waves are absent, that means there could have been a liquid and that S wave could not have passed through. Right? These things we have discussed in very detail, and we further went on to study what are the types of the earthquakes. There can be 5 different types of earthquakes. One, tectonic earthquake. It is because of the plates. Second one is volcanic earthquake. I told you about Iceland. Right? Third one, collapse earthquake, mining and so. Fourth one, reservoir earthquakes. Koyna Dam in India. And last one is explosion earthquake. That is nuclear explosion. Even in India, you got to see in the Pokhran. Right? So, next. Further, I have also told you that the interior of the earth can be broadly be classified into one on the basis of mechanical composition and chemical composition. We started with chemical composition of the interior of the earth, and this chemical composition is based on the what kind of materials are present, okay? What kind of chemicals are present. So, as I dig deep into the interior of the earth is broadly be classified into number 1. First, let's quickly look into the chemical composition. And in this chemical composition, I told you 1, crust, topmost layer, followed by upper mantle, and then followed by lower mantle. Here I take the liberty to add intermediate mantle also, and then which is a solid and which is a liquid. This is liquid and rest of them are solid in nature. Now this is what is the interior of the earth based on the chemical composition. Now you tell me the Sial, Sima and knife compositions. So your crust is made up of silica plus aluminium. Your mantle is made up of silica plus magnesium, that is called as Sima. And core is made up of nickel plus ferrous. Clear? Now these are 3 aspects that you got to learn. And I told you why is outer core liquid? It is because the nickel and ferrous which is present at this depth is little impure as compared to the inner core, and the pressure that it is experiencing, that is the reason why you have outer core as liquid. Right? So here, by using this chemical composition, I'll be explaining you how the earth is divided into the mechanical composition. Right? Now let's try to study first this in little more detail. Right? And I've told you that as and when, if you broadly see, so ऐसे draw करता हूँ ताकि easy हो जाए. If this is your earth, what I am taking? I am taking this slice and then I am trying to show you. Right? Now this is how your NCERTs and all are given. So that's why I am also taking the same diagram. See, in the chemical compositions, the topmost layer is called as crust. Chemical, I am talking about crust. Then you have mantle. Now this mantle is further divided into upper mantle. I'll call this as intermediate mantle. And then you have lower mantle. Mantle is not liquid, it is solid in nature. ठीक है. It is actually semi-molten in nature. It is neither solid nor liquid. It is somewhat semi-molten, more towards the solid side. Then you have outer core and inner core. So this is what is chemical composition. See, your crust is further made up of two different types. Here, as you are going deep into the interior of the earth, if you are going little more deeper, you know that there is density increasing. Now, how you got to know? The waves that are going deeper, their velocity increased. Right? So, with that knowledge, we got to learn that as you go deep into the interior, the density of the material is also increasing. Now, this crust is further divided into upper crust and lower crust. Upper crust is made up of felsic material. Lower crust is made up of mafic material. Now, what do you mean by felsic? Felsic means जिसमें silica content is higher. ठीक है? In which the silica content is higher. Now, what is silica? Silica is nothing but mitti, where mitti content is very high here. For example, to make it little more simpler, let's see. This crust can be formed of one. See, this can be a mountain. Right? Now, when you have the mountain, the depth of the mountain is also a little higher. There can be sometimes an ocean present on the crust as well. Do you agree? This can be my ocean. Right? Now, I can call this part of the region as continental crust, and I'll call this part of the area as I am discussing only about the chemical composition abhi tak, ठीक है? This can be your continental crust and this can be your oceanic crust. Now see, look here. The crust which is there at the bottom of the sea, this you will call as oceanic crust, and this crust, it is called as continental crust. Right? Now, further if you look into the upper part of the crust, this upper part is called as felsic. Lower part is called as mafic. Felsic content will be little less denser and mafic content will be more denser. ठीक है? Felsic content is less denser and mafic content will be of more denser. Felsic means where the SiO2, that is silicon oxide content, is more. Mafic means where the silica content is less. In the felsic, near about 50+% of the content is made up of silica, mitti. Silica ko in simple terms you will call it as mitti. ठीक है? So the SiO2 content, that silicon oxides content, is higher here. Now, mafic silica content is comparatively less. Continental crust is primarily made up of granitic material. ठीक है? Try to understand this. This continental crust is primarily made up of right? Now, what is the thickness of the crust? The crust thickness can go up to 30 kilometers, maybe 30 to 80 kilometers it can go. ठीक है? 30 to 80 kilometers, it depends upon what kind of area it is. In the mountainous area, the crust can be more. Right? Yes. Next, Coming to the oceanic crust, that means I'm talking about the bottom of the ocean. See, if one wants to see imagine that you're going to make a drill here. If one wants to see the mantle, they have to dig near about how many kilometers? 70 to 80 kilometers. But if someone wants to start to drill at the bottom of the ocean, just the thickness of the crust which is there is not more than 5 kilometers. Okay? Or 10 kilometers. But the thickness of this crust is 60 to 70, sometimes 100 also, 30, 40 also, it depends. Mountainous area, the crust thickness is more. So, even in this also, as you go deeper, you will see the movement of the speed or the velocity of the P waves is 6.1 kilometers per second. Per every second, 6.1 kilometers they were traveling. Now, as soon as they entered into the upper mantle, the speed of the material went up on to 6.9. Likewise, when they went into the lower part of the mantle, 7.1. Here, 8. And here, 10 to 12. And the density is also 13 milligrams. Right? Likewise, the speed always increased. That means the density of the materials also increased. Now, coming to the oceanic crust is primarily made up of basalt rock. Okay? See, both basalt rock and the granitic rock are considered to be igneous rocks. Igneous means something which came out from the volcano and it got cooled for the first time. That is called as igneous rock. So this is made up of basalt. When I take granitic rock and when I take basalt rock, who has more density? It is basalt. Right? Agar ye maan ke chalo, this is my basalt rock and this is my granitic rock. If I am moving both of them against each other, or else if I am putting them or pressing against each other, it is always the basalt will go down and the granite will rise. Whosoever density is more, they will sink, and whosoever density is less, they will rise. That means every time, whenever I am going to push against each other with the continental crust or with the continental crust and oceanic crust, who will be sinking? Oceanic crust is the one who will always sink. The density of the oceanic crust is more as compared to the continent. That means this is more denser material. Remember this very blindly. Right? Because in the further time I am going to explain you the plate tectonics concept, and that concept is completely dependent upon the basaltic crust and the continental crust. Right? So this is something which you need to know about the crust. See, the crust is further divided into upper felsic and lower mafic. I told you, this part of the crust is called as upper felsic. This is felsic, and this part is known as mafic. Now, who is the one who have identified that the crust can be broadly divided into two different types? It is Conrad. Now, this Conrad is the person who first identified that my P waves, while they are moving, he has identified that in this part of the region, all of a sudden the speed increased. That means the material is made up of little variation. The density might have been increased at this depth. Now he says that there is a discontinuity. Discontinuity means what? If my P waves are moving at X speed, there is a discontinuity. Means the speed variation is there. When you have a speed variation, that is an indication that there is some kind of density variation also. I hope you are able to understand what I am trying to tell you. Right? So he said there is a discontinuity in the movement of that wave, and that discontinuity is called as Conrad discontinuity. And he said that this line, I will be calling it as Conrad discontinuity, right? This is what is Conrad. Upper felsic, lower mafic. The discontinuity of upper felsic and lower mafic is by Conrad. So Conrad is the one who have identified this. And see, oceanic crust is made up of sima. Okay? Your oceanic crust is made up of sima, and continental crust is made up of Sial. Silica plus aluminium, and oceanic crust is made up of sima, जिसमें magnesium का content ज़्यादा है, and it is made up of basalt. Basalt is more denser as compared to granite. I'm repeating this again and again so that you will be remembering this, right? So this is what is Conrad discontinuity. Now, furthermore, if you go little down, you will understand that this is upper mantle. Okay? This is the area of upper mantle, right? The difference or the discontinuities means it is the velocity differences that are found in the P wave and S wave. That is called discontinuity. I hope you are able to understand what is discontinuity. There are multiple discontinuities in the interior of the earth. Means, here, again, a person named Moho has identified, or who identified that there is a discontinuity of the velocity of the P waves and S waves when these waves are moving from crust to mantle, and he said this layer I'll be naming it as Moho's discontinuity. Now Moho's discontinuity is a discontinuity which is present between crust and mantle. Moho is between crust and mantle. Now see, it is between the lower part of the crust and upper part of the mantle. ठीक है? Right? Now come back. What is Conrad discontinuity? Can I call it like this? किस में सिलिका कंटेंट ज्यादा है? फेल्सिक में, मैफिक में सिलिका कंटेंट इज लाइट, एंड कॉन्टिनेंटल क्रस्ट इज मेड अप ऑफ सियाल, ओशनिक क्रस्ट इज मेड अप ऑफ सीमा. That means your mantle is also made up of सीमा. Mantle is also made up of सीमा. That means a similar kind of material which of lower density, your oceanic crust is also made. Now whose thickness is more? Oceanic crust, continental crust? Thickness. Oceanic crust or continental crust? Continental crust का thickness ज़्यादा है. Okay. Now furthermore, if you see, the next discontinuity that you will find by the name of REPTI, R-E-P-T-I. Now REPTI discontinuity is a discontinuity between upper mantle and lower mantle, or else you can also call as the discontinuity between this one. Intermediate mantle, I myself have created it, but to make it little more easier for you. But see, this discontinuity, that is REPTI, is a discontinuity which is found between and he calls the intermediate mantle as an area where the REPTI discontinuity is present. Right? Next discontinuity is Gutenberg. This is a discontinuity which is present between lower mantle and outer core. And the last discontinuity that you will find is between outer core and inner core. It is called as Lehmann's discontinuity. This is called as Lehmann 6.1 kilometers per second, this is the speed of the P waves which are moving in the upper crust. As soon as they came to the lower crust, this is what is 6.9 kilometers per second. Now when it came into the mantle, that is 7.1 to 7.9. It is 7.1 to 7.9. This is the speed of the waves that you get to see here. And as soon as you go a little down, you will see the speed has increased into the core near about 13.6 kilometers per second. So as soon as you go into this part of the area, the speed is increased to 13.6 kilometers per second. Now with this speed, the waves are traveling in the lower end. Right? Density, you already know, it keeps on increasing. Here the density is almost 13-14 grams per meter cube. Okay? So this is what is the chemical composition. And do you know what are the major constituents of the Earth's crust? What kind of materials you will get? What are the materials that this Earth is made up of? Yes, say it loud. Rocks, theek hai, but rocks consist of what? Rocks are nothing but mitti. Can I call it as silica? Theek hai? Alcima, that is magnesium, nickel, ferrous. So your Earth can be broadly be classified into those materials which are made up of ferromagnetic properties and those which are non-ferromagnetic substances. Earth can be broadly be divided into ferromagnetic substances and the non-ferromagnetic substances. So here, Earth, major elements of the Earth crust. Now quickly write down. The major elements of the Earth crust are by weight. By weight. It is first one. Your Earth crust. I am talking about this crust. Okay? Look here. I am talking about this part of the Earth. Your Earth crust is made up of 8 major elements. Okay? Now what are these 8 major elements? Number 1, oxygen. Okay? Elements, first one is oxygen. Now what is the percentage of this oxygen as an element which is present in the crust? By weight, in terms of weight. Any guess? Any guess? What could be the percentage if I am taking all the elements which are made up of the Earth crust is made up of? Elements can be oxygen, silica, magnesium, copper, like that. Multiple elements are there. Now my question is, I said the topmost element by its weight, this Earth crust, is composed of oxygen. Majority is? Yes, of this 100%, majority part is oxygen. Now this oxygen is 48%. It is, 46.6% is oxygen by weight. Okay? Next is silicon. Oxygen, silicon is 27.72. Third one, aluminium, 8.13. Fourth one, iron, which is 5%, that is 5.0%. Next, calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, and others. Calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, and others. See, calcium is 3.63%. Magnesium 2.09. Magnesium is 2.09. Sodium 2.83. Potassium 2.5. Calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium. Oxygen, silica, aluminium and iron. So याद करने का तरीका है, I am talking about this part of the crust. ठीक है? It can be oceanic crust and continental crust. It is made up of Osai Kasapoma, these are some techniques that you can make, ठीक है, short forms and all. Oxygen, silica, aluminium, calcium, sodium, potassium, magnesium and others. ठीक है, Osai Kasapoma, OSAICASOPOMA. Oxygen. Right? This is the order in which they are made up of. Oxygen, silica, aluminium, calcium, sodium, potassium, magnesium. Right? And others. So this is what is your earth crust is made up of. Right? And these combinations, suppose you think that there is coal, there is petrol. This coal, petrol and all, they are nothing but the mixtures of these components itself. There is carbon. Okay? Others are nothing but you can have carbon. Suppose you pick up a rock. Now in this rock, you will definitely have all of these elements. And सबसे ज़्यादा element oxygen होता है. Oxygen means it is not that it is only in the form of air. It can be present in another form. ठीक है, oxides की form में present हो सकता है. ठीक है, that can be formed in other various forms. Now broadly when you look into, this is what is your chemical composition of the earth. Now this chemical composition of the earth and your crust is primarily made up of 8 major elements. Right? 8 major elements, this is what is your crust made up of. Right? याद रहेगा? Now take a couple of minutes to just sink in the content that you have learned. ठीक है? Just go through the content that you have. Sodium can be represented by Na, sir. Yes, Aryan. You can make your own representations whichever way you are comfortable. At the end, I want you to remember in the examination. Done? Yes. Ocean sodium is different. He's saying that, sir, जो sodium का content है, the content of the sodium in the ocean, is it included? No. It is not included. Now, see, the sodium which is there on the surface of the earth, it is given to the water. Now, one question I can ask, why is that ocean water salty and rest of the water are not so salty? Why are they fresh water? The water which is there in the lakes, most of the lakes on the surface of the earth, they are fresh. But why is the water which is there in the ocean is sodium, salty in nature? Why is that? क्यों? That is what I am asking. Why? Why river water is fresh and ocean water is salty? Why can't we convert that ocean water into a fresh water? क्योंकि वहाँ पे sodium content ज़्यादा है. This is what Navneet says. But why? From where did that sodium get into that water? Very good. In the oceans, you will see continuous eruptions of volcanoes. I have shown you some slides few days before that there are more volcanoes that are there, right? Continuous eruption, and also your oceans are always in the constant touch with the mantle, ठीक है? And other elements which are there. That's why. But you see, Ocean water, when they get evaporated, only the fresh water that gets evaporated faster. Ocean water is evaporating, no doubt. That evaporated water is fresh because sodium is heavier. It will stay behind. And water vapor, it is lighter, it will go up. And that fresh water, the fresh component of the oceans is the one which is evaporating and coming back in the form of rainfall. Now Shaurya is asking, sir, is the ocean concentration salt is increasing? If you are increasing the atmospheric temperature, climate change, your oceans will become more saltier because more evaporation. The more the evaporation, the more will be the salty your ocean. Okay? Salinity waters can increase. This is the same diagram that you have drawn, but I have drawn it in a different way. Look here. Now what you can do is, I want you to add the densities here. Crust density is 2.2 to 2.9. Actually, the oceanic crust density is more. Oceanic crust density I am talking about. I am not talking about thickness. Look at the thickness. The thickness is very, very less in the ocean. 5 kilometer. आप ocean को 10 kilometer dig करो, lava will come out. 10 kilometers you dig into the ocean, lava will flow out from the ocean. That is, magma will come out from the ocean. Most of the times. But on the continent, you have to dig 100 sort kilometers. So, kilometers and all factual content hai. In some books you will find one number and in some other books you will find another number. You need not worry much. Right? And exam they won't ask you what is the density of this, what is the density of this. At the end they might ask you questions such as like this. See, I'll show you previous year questions which are asked from this particular topic. Which of the following is not a result of plate tectonics? I did not explain you plate tectonics, but questions will be very easy. I haven't explained these topics, but hurricanes, what are they? Tropical cyclones, I've already told you, we have discussed, where are they found? Hurricanes are found where? Now, if the same tropical cyclones are there in India, we call it cyclones. We call it as typhoons where? Japan, China. Willy Willis, Australia. Right? So that means which of the following is not a result of plate tectonics? You have already learned that hurricanes are nothing but the phenomena of climate. इतना आसान सा सवाल होता है UPSC में. It has asked. This is previous year question. Likewise, once we are discussed, we'll look into these questions as well. Okay. Clear है यहाँ तक? Now I'll be going towards the mechanical composition of the earth, and in the mechanical composition of the earth is the one which you are supposed to remember, and on that basis we are going to discuss the plate tectonics theory. Right? Now come to mechanical disintegration of the earth or mechanical composition of the earth. In this mechanical composition, let's try to learn from the chemical composition. See, broadly, first I'll draw the chemical composition. From that, we'll derive the mechanical composition here. So what is this? Crust. This is upper mantle. This is intermediate mantle, lower mantle, outer core, and inner core. Now this is what you have learnt in the case of chemical composition. Now see, mechanical composition is primarily made up of what kind of material it is. Is it solid, liquid? Is it semi-plastic? Is it molten? Now see, lithosphere in the mechanical composition, I told you the topmost layer is lithosphere followed by asthenosphere and then followed by mesospheric mantle and then the core. Core is further divided into inner core and this is outer core. Mesospheric mantle is divided into upper mantle, intermediate mantle and lower mantle, right? In fact, this is the classification which we have done here. Now, where did this new layer came into picture? In the mechanical composition. That you need to know. And of all the layers, asthenosphere is the weakest layer. Okay? Of all the layers, the asthenosphere is considered to be the weakest layer. Now, let me tell you about the lithosphere, how this lithosphere is there. Now, look here. First, suppose, ध्यान से देखना यहाँ पर, what am I doing is, first I will tell you what is lithosphere. Lithosphere means this entire crust. Look here, this entire crust I am talking, crust plus upper part of the upper mantle. What I have done? I have divided the upper mantle into two parts. That means lithosphere means crust plus this is called as lithosphere. Crust plus upper part of the upper mantle, this is your lithosphere. Right? Next, followed by your asthenosphere. What is this asthenosphere? Asthenosphere is neither solid nor liquid. It is semi-molten in nature. That means it is like a lava. In fact, it is like a pillow. You put more weight onto it, it actually sinks there. Yesterday I have shown you, right? Honey jaisa hai, right? Maybe a paint which is a thick paint. If you put an iron ball, in fact, there is a depression that you will get to see. It is of that kind of material. So, yes? Beam-Arrival fault explanation I have done. Maybe similar kind of that material. This is neither solid nor liquid. Now, asthenosphere means it is this part. Lower part of the upper mantle plus upper part of the intermediate mantle. Lower part of the upper mantle plus upper part of the intermediate mantle. Right? Now this is what is called as asthenosphere. Right? You might have seen the discontinuities. Your discontinuities are based on what? They are based on chemical compositions. Okay? Here we are not looking into the chemical composition. Here we are looking into the mechanicality. ये solid है, ये liquid है, क्या है? So, I'll call this as astheno. Now, what do you mean by astheno? It is weak. It is very weak. Something which is weak, it is called as asthenosphere. Okay? Astheno. That means this particular layer can be punctured. Right? This layer can be punctured. It is a semi-molten. I hope everyone understands what is semi-molten. You start to melt the iron. How it is solid or liquid? It is neither solid nor liquid. Right? With high density, you'll have. But if you can puncture that iron, in fact, you can put something through that and make it pass through that material, right? It is of that kind of material. It is neither solid nor liquid. Now see, look at this asthenosphere. It is having this kind of characters. Look here. There is too much of weight here. These are mountains. And your asthenosphere will also bend like this. If there are mountains here, your asthenosphere will also bend like this. That means the shape of the asthenosphere is also dependent upon the amount of weight it is carrying on the surface. This is how the shape will be. Not a regular shape. Now if I keep on adding more weight and more weight, your asthenosphere cannot take. Sometimes it will go and melt into the mantle. Now see here, these are mantles. Okay? These are mantle. From here on, you will call this as mesospheric mantle. That means this part of the layer is called as mesospheric mantle. This is your outer core, which is liquid in nature. And this is your inner core, which is solid again. Got it? And this mesospheric mantle you can divide into upper mantle and lower mantle, or this is how you can divide, right? Upper mantle, lower mantle, or intermediate mantle, whichever way you want, you can further divide that into layers. Clear, huh? Then outer core liquid. Now why is this liquid? Because this is made up of nickel and ferrous. There's so much of weight. At this weight and pressure, you'll see the materials are little impure as compared to this inner core. This is how the internal structure is there. Now, what I have to tell you is how this lithosphere, can you imagine what is lithosphere now? Lithosphere is crust plus upper part of the upper mantle. Now, upper part of the upper mantle is comparatively having less heat and it is comparatively less density. Now, see here, this entire area is considered to be the lithosphere. What does lithosphere consist of? Your lithosphere consists of both oceans and it also consists of continents. So, can I call this as lithospheric oceanic crust? And this is lithospheric continental crust. Yes? I can call this as oceanic crust of the lithosphere, and this I can call it as oceanic crust of the, continental crust of the lithosphere. This entire layer is what? Litho. That means patthar. This entire layer is made up of astheno. That means weak layer. It is semi-molten. Neither solid nor liquid. A plastic molten material. Mesospheric mantle, literally here, the temperatures are very, very high. And remember, as you go into the interior of the earth, the temperatures increase, the density of the materials increase. This you need to be very, very clear. Temperatures increase, density of the material increases. Now, yesterday I told you a concept that if I am going to put a rock, increase the depth of that rock, the entire rock may not melt. Some parts of the rock may melt. What is that called? Partial melting. So likewise, you see, our earth has balanced itself. The heavier materials which are there, they are always present at the core, and the lighter materials, they are present at the top. Right? Some here or there, some minerals can be there, which are found here. Now those we mine, and we wanted to make some products. Right? But the real products are somewhere here. Okay? If you find a technology to extract, you will be the richest man in the world. Okay? Clear? Elon Musk is thinking of going to Mars and putting 2 nuclear bombs there so that the Mars temperature gets stabilized and we can go and mine. But instead, maybe you find out a material, maybe from the outer space or from the inner space, wherever, that material can go into the interior and can survive. Maybe create a spaceship or create any kind of material while you go into the interior of the earth and start mining and get that material up. You will be the richest person in the world or in the globe also. But that comes at a cost. You are disturbing the equilibrium of the earth. Right? Excess of mining is also disturbing the equilibrium of earth. Now, as a geographer, what you need to do is you have to think on a bigger scale. In the climatology, what we have learned that if you are going to alter the carbon composition, you know that if I always give the example that I take this glass and I close this glass, what is the composition of this glass? 78% of the gases is nitrogen, 21% is oxygen, and this carbon dioxide of 0.03. Now this tiny little carbon dioxide, if you are increasing here, the temperature of this glass is increasing. We forget at times that फंडामेंटल्स भूल जाते हैं. एंड पिछले 200 सालों में the total number of industries, the carbon mining and the coal mining that we have done, in the race of development, we sometimes forget the basics. Likewise, in the race of development of mining, we explore anything and everything which is found on the surface of the earth, which is crust. Over exploitation, kahin na kahin, ye balance ko, ye santulan ko bigaad deta hai. Now, that is something which is always a problematic task. So, we have to balance. So, what happened is, this is your earth, right? At the end, this is what is your earth. Can I draw it like this? Right? First, suppose on this earth, what I have done is, maybe this is the center part of the earth. I have decided that I'll make all the constructions which are there in the equator. I'll shift the population towards the poles and I'll melt the glaciers there, and then I'll start to live there. 6 months of darkness and 6 months of sunlight, a new tourism concept I'll start to evolve. ऐसे नए नए cities बन सकते हैं वहाँ पर. So, look at Iceland. The population of Iceland increased. Earlier, the population of Iceland is only 1.5 lakh. Today, the population of Iceland is more than 6 lakhs. बहुत ज़्यादा है उनके लिए 6 लाख. ठीक है, चंडीगढ़ में 10 लाख से ऊपर है. Right? Now the entire country. But if you start to over-construct at one particular place of the earth, what are you doing? In fact, you are actually increasing the weight of that part of the earth. ठीक है? It's not about asthenosphere puncturing, but the rotational speed of the earth which is there, it might get disturbed. ठीक है? Now I'll show you a current affairs article here. This is 27th March. Now, what is this current affairs article saying? Global warming is slowing the Earth's rotation. ठीक है? If global warming is slowing the Earth's rotation, so how is this global warming slowing the Earth's rotation? One, Earth has gases. The weight of the gases is disrupted. And second thing is that, see, yes, industrialization also, urban areas also, you are increasing the population. Earth's rotational speed is increasing or decreasing. That means 2 or 3 seconds in a day is gone. Actually, it is only few milliseconds of the time of the Earth is reducing. In fact, it is rotating slowly. But think of stock markets. At 1 single second, how many lakhs of crores of transactions takes place? Thousands of crores of transactions. If 1 second is gone from the earth, those transactional amounts, time, where are you going to fit in? Now that's a bigger administrative challenge that you have. Plus, if these kind of activities can lead to cascading impacts. Cascading impacts means it will further lead to some changes in one or the other way. What we have done is we have increased the population. In fact, we have increased the constructions near to the polar region. And that has disrupted the balance of the earth. So it is always, we have to work in the global common good. Means, we have to think about the earth. Tomorrow you start to construct, all the population on the earth is living only on the one side of the earth. Of course, there can be some changes that can be seen on the earth. Right? So, the impact of climate change is not just there on you individuals, but on the global scale is also there on the rotational speed of the earth. Right? Now, see here, global warming is slowing the Earth's rotation. Now, what is this global warming? Is nothing but simply, you have to see this concept like this. Look at this Earth. What is this? Ice. Majority of the chunk is ice. If I'm going to increase the temperature of the earth, will this ice be there? Gone. That means the weight which used to be present on the North Pole is being distributed, it melts, and no longer that amount of the weight is not there. Likewise, that global warming is the one which has disrupted the Earth's balance, right? Likewise, Antarctica. Or yeah, Antarctica though, it is one of the disaster that you're going to make. In fact, this is a continent. The height of this continent is on an average 3 kilometers ki unchai par. Right? Now this is a bigger continent. If this ice is melted, now just imagine 4 kilometer ki height amount of ice which is there, it is getting melted and it gets mixed with the water. Now water volume increases. And this water volume, these are fresh water. They can trap more amount of heat. Once they trap more amount of heat, then ocean water temperature increases. Especially the species which are there in the oceans, they cannot survive 1 degree Celsius rise. We humans on the land, we can adapt, but ocean species cannot. They will die. Apart from that, overall when you look into the balance of this earth which is rotating, it gets impacted. It has just begun, maybe in the century or so, we'll see large scale changes. Okay? एक नया normal wobbling पढ़ा था ना हमने, wobbling, tilting. That wobbling can be seen more frequently. Ab UPSC will not ask you questions on the interior of the earth. Maybe sometimes they might ask. It is more or less the applied questions that are being asked. Applied means global warming can lead to which of the following. Maybe one of the statement is it can increase or decrease the speed of the earth. Now is the statement right? It is right. Likewise, it will increase the amount of carbon dioxide. Of course, yes. Right? It will increase the area of cultivation. Is the statement right? Global warming will increase the area of cultivation. अंटार्कटिका में कल्टीवेशन हो रहा है क्या पहले? In fact, this part of the areas which are temperate in region, Arctic and Antarctica, cultivation can be possible there. IPCC reports, that is Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, it says that our earth global warming can increase the area for cultivation, especially in the temperate regions. Okay? In temperate regions, I mean to say, those which are near to the Arctic Circle, Siberia and all, near about 3 to 4 months of their land will be covered with snow. Rest of the season they can cultivate. That 4 to 5 months they can now cultivate in the upcoming time period. The area of cultivation increases and the crop pattern also changes. Your food habits will change. In the northern part of India, you may no longer grow wheat because wheat needs 15 degrees Celsius or less. Right? If temperatures are increasing, look at the summer temperatures today, 45, 48, 50, Delhi and so. If these are the temperatures, at least 20 degrees Celsius, if it is there in the winter, India mein wheat cannot be grown. Even if it is grown, earlier you might be getting 100 kgs, now you will get only 40 kgs. Apne aap productivity kam hoga. So there are large scale impacts that you will get to see. You need to look beyond the content that is there in the NCERTs, beyond the content that is there in the classrooms. Right? So this application that you need to learn. Okay. Come back. This is what is the mechanical composition of the structure of the earth. Now what I'll do is, I'll tell you how our lithosphere is further divided into. Okay? I hope you understand what is lithosphere. If I'm showing you this, that means till what is the depth? Depth in the sense. Now I want you to write some factual content here. Factual content, it is till what height? See, look here. Your lithosphere can go up to 200 kilometers. Okay? Write down. Lithosphere can go up to 200 kilometers. 200 to 400 is asthenosphere. Mantle can go up to 2,250 kilometers. Mantle can go up to 2,250 kilometers. And core, outer core, okay, I'm talking about outer core. The width of the outer core, I'm talking about the width of the outer core. Okay? The width of the outer core is 2180 kilometers. I'm talking about this width. That is the width. And inner core width is 1200 kilometers. Inner core width is 1200 kilometers. आप बताओ, who has the highest width? Highest width I am talking about. Width. Who has the highest width? Outer core. See, width is 2250. This is the width. This is nothing but mantle has the highest width. But in terms of weight, if you look into, this is inner core and this is outer core. See, core alone consists of how much weight? It consists of near to 40% of the Earth's weight. Core, it is, you can literally write it as 68% of the total mass of the Earth. 68% of the total mass of the Earth. And 83% of the total volume. And 83% of the total volume is made up of core. 83% of the total volume is made up of the core. Can you quickly take this only kilometers diagram? Factual content है, याद करना है, बस आपको ये याद करना है. My asthenosphere can go up to 400 kilometers, 300 kilometers. Wait, if I have the diagram, I will show you. Okay. This is the best diagram that you can take. Factual content hai, and see, in this classroom which I am going to tell you these numbers, it might be different from the books that you are referring. Every now and then, every year, these numbers are updating. So UPSC will never go into this number. If suppose they will ask you questions like, the core can be present up to 11,000 kilometers. Is the statement right? No. 11,000 kilometers pe the Earth diameter is almost still that much. So you have to use your brain. Whenever UPSC is using the numbers, it will try to make you fool. 95% of the times, if a number is given in the UPSC, that is negative. It is false statement. Okay? Because these are researchers that are getting updated every now and then. Please take this diagram. Only kilometers I want you to take. Once you are done, let me know. Lithosphere का जो thickness है, it can be up to 10 to 200 kilometers. It depends on which place it is. Lithosphere thickness is 10 to 200 kilometers. In some books, you will find different numbers, so don't worry. Whatever I am giving in the class, you can rely upon that. Simply, you need to remember that as you go into the interior of the Earth, the density of the material increases. That is what you need to know. Done? Okay. You'll also get all of these diagrams in the internet here and there. Okay? You need not worry much. Done? Shall we go further? Now, if I am taking this topmost layer, that is called as my lithosphere. This lithosphere, imagine this is a piece of cake. Okay? This topmost layer is lithosphere. I hope everyone is able to imagine, right? So if I am taking this lithosphere out, and this lithosphere is made up of number of pieces. Okay? So if I broadly take out this lithosphere here, this is your ocean. Now this lithosphere of the earth is divided into multiple pieces like this. Okay? You also need to imagine this in a different way. We are looking the earth from the cross-sectional view. That means I have drawn this diagram from this, I have taken a slice and I am showing you. But here you need to imagine this earth in a three-dimensional view. That means imagine this is your earth. On the earth there can be oceans, there can be land. That means this part of the region can be this piece. Okay? And this part of the region can be an ocean, and it can be this part, this piece. And see, again, this part of the region, which is made up of ocean also, which is made up of continent also, it can be like this. Some part of the ocean can be there, and rest of the part of the continent can be there. Like this, our earth is made up of multiple pieces, and each of this piece, which is up to a depth of 200 kilometers, this is called as lithospheric plates. Now for the first time I am using the word plates. Now what are these plates? Plates are disintegrated pieces of the lithosphere. Plates are the disintegrated pieces of the lithosphere which are floating on the asthenosphere. Which are floating on the asthenosphere. Plates are disintegrated pieces within the lithosphere and which are floating on the asthenosphere. Now these plates can be of two different types. One can be an oceanic plate. Okay? Other can be an continental plate. Right? One can be an oceanic plate and other can be a continental plate. Mix bhi ho sakta hai. There can be a mix of continental plate and there can be a mix of oceanic plate. That means there can be mixture like this as well. See here, a plate can be formed like this. Try to imagine what I am trying to draw. A plate can be made up of this part of the region also, where some part of the plate can be ocean, some part of the plate can be continent. Example hai koi? Yes? Yes, Indian plate is an example. Even South American plate is an example. Now I'll show you, across the globe there are plates of smaller size, there can be plates of larger size. Multiple plates are there. But there are 7 major plates and near about 30 multiple minor plates are there. Some are very small, some are very big. For our examination, we need to remember near about 15 odd plates that are there in the NCERTs. Beyond that, I don't want you to focus much. So let me show you a few diagrams that will give you a beautiful understanding here. Look here, when I say plate, lithosphere means this part of the region. This is Indian plate. Now this part of the plate, which is a piece of cake. Just imagine a piece of cake which is 200 kilometers deep inside, and this one is floating where? On the asthenosphere. Now why is it floating on the asthenosphere? Because asthenosphere is a semi-molten material which is neither liquid nor solid, and uske upar this plate is floating. Like that, you have multiple plates, and each of this plate, some sizes are big, some sizes are small. This is another plate, and this is another plate. Likewise, you have multiple plates that are present on the surface of the earth. Now each of this plate, imagine as a piece of cake which is almost 200 kilometers deep, and this, when you look in a cross-sectional view, it does look like this. So imagine this is a plate, and this plate is floating where? On the asthenosphere. That means this is an asthenosphere which is buoyant in nature, viscous in nature. Density ज़्यादा है, density कम है, right? And always remember this, one more point I am going to tell you. The density of the asthenosphere is more than the continental crust, right? The density of the asthenosphere is more than the continental crust, right? But the density of the older oceanic floor, remember, I'm telling that the density of the older oceanic floor is sometimes equal or more than the density of the older oceanic floor is sometimes equal or more than the density of the asthenosphere. Why? I'll tell you. ठीक है, क्योंकि older oceanic plates and all, they become colder, right? Now I have to explain you one more theory, then only you will be able to understand all of these things. यहाँ तक clear है? Like this, the entire world, even if you have your atlas, you can keep open your atlas, that your atlas will tell you that there are multiple plates, and each of these plates, they keep on moving. Now why are they moving? It is because of a theory called mantle convectional cell theory. ठीक है? You need to understand the mantle convectional cell theory. Just a minute. In literal terms, this is how your plates look, right? I'll show you the plates boundaries. We'll draw with the hand, and this is only for reference. See, this is how your plates are. Now let me show you the plates here. Just imagine this is your plate. This is one plate, and this is another plate. ठीक है? Do you have ocean here? Yes? Isn't it your ocean? That means a plate can be made up of both the continents and the oceans. This is your continent. A plate can be made up of complete ocean. A plate can be made up of complete continent. A plate can also be made up of some part of the ocean and some part of the continent. Right? Now, why these plates are made? Can anyone tell me? Why your earth is made up of n number of pieces? No, Pangea is not a single plate. Why? I'll reward if someone tells me this answer. Cooling down of the earth, maybe somewhere you are near to it. Greenhouse gases and all, they are there, but why is this? Pieces are there. Sometimes the size of the pieces varies, sometimes the size of the piece increases, decreases. And you will be learning about that India was once present somewhere here. India started to move towards that direction. Now why? Why? Formation of earth, ठीक है, but why? Exact answer I want. She says that, sir, asthenosphere is a semi-molten entity. If too much of weight is put on the asthenosphere will help us to move. ठीक है, it is just one of an process. In a bigger process, it is just one of a process that is happening. In fact, rotation of the earth, ठीक है, rotation of the earth is minimal. See, anything that is moving on the earth naturally, it is because of what? Why does the wind move? It's not pressure, it is the temperature difference. ठीक है? Earth wants to maintain an equilibrium of temperatures. ठीक है? And in the maintenance of this equilibrium of the temperatures, that is why earth moves and stabilizes itself. रात को जब ज़्यादा पसीना आया तो आप इधर उधर, you'll move from here to here, right? To maintain the heat balance of your body. Same is the case of the earth. If the earth is moving its plates because earth is trying to stabilize its temperatures in the interior. Yeah, if human starts to do more and more of activity on the surface of the earth, earth's plates will also move in a different manner. Why? You will understand this in the further time period, but please be patient. We'll go there and we'll be there in the next couple of days. Shaurya's question is, why does the earth balances? Because maintenance of the equilibrium is the law of the nature. It is not the nature of the earth, it is law of the nature. So, if there is high temperature at one place and if there is low temperature at one place, they wanted to maintain a balance. Now, I'll show you a small video which will give you a better perspective than what it has given you in the previous classes. Same video. Watch it. You'll now understand why the plates are moving. This is outer core. Temperatures are very high. Right? What is the temperatures here? Less. 500, 400, 600. Now, very high temperature means, will it not boil? It boils. The boiling interior of the earth will now start to move around to cool itself. ठीक है? This is nothing but convection. Right? There is too much of heat on the core and too less temperatures near to the surface. So, in the due process, always there is heating taking place because continuously lakhs and lakhs of nuclear blasts are taking place within the interior of the earth on a daily basis. I'm talking about lakhs, not thousands. This huge amount of radioactive material that is present in the interior of the earth. Okay? There is huge amount of heat that is there in the interior of the earth. Now, this heat which is there, it starts to move around. Right? Now, as soon as this moves around, it will also move your lithospheric plates also. Right? Now, these movements of the cells which are there, they are called as convectional cells. ऐसा कोई convectional cells पहले पढ़ा है क्या अपन? कहाँ पे? Hadley cell, Ferrel cell. Why Hadley cell and Ferrel cell are moving? जहाँ पे वैक्यूम है, जहाँ वहाँ पे वैक्यूम भरना है. Very good. That means at the equator, the temperatures are very high. Right? When there is very high temperatures, what happens? The air starts to rise. Same is the concept within the interior of the earth. If you have high temperatures at one place, now that will start to rise. Look at this. There's two high temperatures they are trying to rise up. And once they rise to the top, they cool down and they diverge. There the plate diverges. Now why it happens, I'll explain you. Now this is nothing but your mantle convectional cell theory. Now before that, you now got to know the interior of the earth, and your earth is made up of multiple plates. Now how many plates? Your earth is made up of 7 major plates. Now each of the continent which is there, it is made up of a plate. So look here, different colors are there. This is a plate. We'll come to the plate tectonics theory in a little more detailed manner, but now I want you to tell you about a person named Wegner. Okay? Wegner is the person who first back in 1920s said that Earth is moving, Earth plates are moving, continents are moving. When he said that, everyone thought he is a fool. ठीक है, सबने बोला ये पागल है. Because 1920s, that was the time where you see Second World War took place and innovations came in. See, every time a war came into picture, there is new innovations that will come out. Immediately after the First World War, the innovation of aeroplanes took place. Now that aeroplanes has added a beautiful innovations into geography and a beautiful understanding of geography. Now before Second World War, in the First World War, no aeroplanes were used. It was always infantry, submarine, and so. Okay? But in the Second World War, we started to use aeroplanes. Aeroplanes gave so much of knowledge about the jet streams, wind, clouds. We started to study in detail. But immediately after the First World War, we got to learn too much about the interior of the Earth, especially the ocean surface. Submarines are there. Then they decided that now we will hide our submarines somewhere in the mountains of the ocean. Trenches, not trenches, it is mountains. Trenches also, yes, but they wanted to hide their submarines in the interior, and in the due process, they were mapping the mountains. Right? So they mapped much of the area. And later they realized that, after 1934, they realized that whatever Wegner has told in 1920, it is all true. But everyone declared Wegner as a mad fellow. And his last days were very bad. He got humiliated. The theory which he gave, he could not justify his own theory. And that theory is called as Alfred Wegner. ठीक है? So we are going to study about the Alfred Wegner. Now we are going to study the tectonic geography. अब तक हमने क्या पढ़ा? The interior of the Earth. But now we are going to enter into a concept called tectonic geography. In the tectonic geography, there are 3 theories that you need to learn. Number 1. Continental drift theory. ठीक है? Second one, mantle that is mantle convectional cell theory. And the third one, plate tectonics theory. These are the 3 theories an aspirant is supposed to learn. Once you are thorough with these 3 topics, then it becomes easier for you. And this theory, the continental drift theory, was given by Alfred Wegner in the year 1912. Okay? Why am I mentioning about this year? Because those students who are taking geography as their optional subject, for them, you'll have a better perspective to write. You know, what are the changes that are taking place in the geography before World War I and after World War I? What are the innovations that came up after Second World War? So can anyone tell me कौन सा ऐसा innovations है जो World War के बाद आया? बहुत सारा. उनमें से yes, X-rays, bones. Yes. Before that, there is no concept of X-rays. X-rays, they wanted to understand the war scenario. Marie Curie. It was accidental innovations. See, today you are having packaged foods. Food technology which is there, you are able to store a food for near about 100 days, 200 days also. Where did this technology evolve? Second World War. When soldiers wanted to move for long distances, they want packaged food. Space science. in the, ठीक है, space sciences में you wanted to live without food through tablets. The medication research went into that level. In fact, war-related researches were taking place. If soldiers were hurt, what kind of medicine need to be given? How to stop the blood? Now, these were the researches that took place. See, when did this Spanish flu came? 1919 to 1921. ठीक है, 100 years before the COVID, exactly you had a similar kind of flu, that is Spanish flu, same like COVID it was there. It was, your first world war was between 1914 to 1918. ठीक है, so 14 to 18, if suppose a soldier is wounded, chances of that soldier being dead is very high. What was the first antibiotic that was given? When was it innovated? Penicillin. 1928. ठीक है, your penicillin came 1928. That means the wounds of your first world war, they did not even know about the first antibiotic called penicillin. Right? It came in 1928. That means after the war, innovations comes up. Likewise, in the optional of geography, if someone is planning to take up, here Alfred Wegner, who gave his theory in 1912, do you have aeroplanes? No. Do you have submarine access to these geographers? No. How come this fellow who's standing very little on this earth started to imagine that how the continents are moving? That is something in itself is a very phenomenal thing. We have to give the credit to this idea that this person was able to think that the continents are moving. Right? You'll be surprised to know that the first visuals of our continent, how did we get to know that this is the shape of the earth? This is the shape of the continent. How did we get to know? कैसे पता था? How did we get to know the shape of the earth or shape of the continents? Today you draw India in a beautiful manner, right? But how did you get to know that that is the shape of the earth or the country? कोई ना कोई जाके स्पेस में देखना चाहिए, या someone who might have traveled across the ship while mapping those ships. It is a very difficult task. देखो, initially back in 150 AD, everyone thought that this is the world and this is Mediterranean Sea. Their visuals were, this is England and this is some part of Europe. That's it. Now come back after 1000 years. Even till 1050 AD, everyone thought that this is the earth. Because they never traveled to the USA and they never traveled to India by a sea route. Only in the 1498, just before the Vasco da Gama came, everyone thought that this is the map of the world. But 1599, Vasco da Gama came, Columbus came, Columbus went to USA, Vasco da Gama crossed and then came to India. But no one knows the exact shape of India because they are estimating ऐसा कोई coast है and this is how India is. But down the line, 1778, our technologies evolved. Wars are the one which has created new technologies because the need and necessity is always in the war. Likewise, you see the modern era map, it is in the 1832. Right? Because a ship by the name Magellan ship for the first time went across the globe. And then they said that earth is round and you can travel in the water across the earth. Till date, no one has traveled. Everyone wanted to cross from one place to another place. And in the climatology, I told you that you cannot cross the equator that easily without a mechanized boats. अरे इलेक्ट्रिसिटी दूर की बात है यहाँ पर, स्टीम इंजन इनोवेशन नहीं है. 15. How did that Vasco da Gama fellow cross the equator and then came to India? Miracle, literally miracle for him. He is the luckiest fellow in the globe and is the richest fellow of that time. He came with near about 100 people, went back with 2 people. Everyone lost their life. Now, while going back, the Cameron, the king who is there, he gave him 2 or 3 boats and a boats full of spices. And if he is not given that spices, this fellow would not have returned. Now, that spices have made so much of noise there. Chalo, bahut spices hai. Now, why do they need spices? Because Europe hai, electricity, ये सब दूर की बात है इस time पे, 1498. And their food, what can they grow if their land is covered with ice? Apples कितने देर खाते रहेंगे? They need food, roti. मकान तो है उनके पास, कपड़ा एनिमल से मिलता है उन्हें, राइट. Cotton is largely grown in India. Cotton is largely grown in our areas. They want cotton. They want spices. And these spices, if they cut a meat, these spices can store that meat for months together in the ice. So that's why they want these spices. In search of spices trade, they came to India, and we fools, we started to give them whatever they want. And today, they ruled us for another 200 years from there on. But somewhere, कहीं ना कहीं, हमारा geographical angle देखा तो this luck favored him. ठीक है? Maybe climate change was the reason. ठीक है? On a fun note. Okay. So, what did Wegner say? See, Wegner said 5 things. Number 1, he said that our Earth was initially made up of one single continent by the name Pangaea. Now, how does Pangaea look? It looks like this. Right? Entire continent. Today, when you broadly see the world, it is like this. This is USA. Right? And here is your Africa. And here is your South America. ठीक है? And this is this is your Australia. This is how it looks like. Now, present. But go back to Alfred Wegner, which is said that 250 million years ago, our Earth was made up of one single continent by the name Pangaea. Now, this Pangaea, if this is your USA, he says that ठीक है, this is Asia, North America, South America, Africa, Antarctica, and this is Australia. And this is our Earth. And he called this as Pangaea, and the ocean around he calls this as Panthalassa. The entire ocean he called it as Panthalassa. Pangaea and Panthalassa, these are the continents which he said all the continents were once present at one single place. कौन सा? I'll talk about the species. Just give me 5-10 minutes, I'll be there. When you learn environment, you'll know that tigers and all, they are nanna munna species. They came very recently. ठीक है? Before that, there were many big species like dinosaurs. ठीक है? The size of the dinosaurs got shrinked. Right? Some say that they became crocodiles. They became alligators. Now, tigers and all, they came very recently when India came to tropical areas. Right? We'll discuss that. Now, can you imagine this? When was this? It was near about 300 million years ago. Right? Now, later he says that the entire Pangaea got divided into 2. Right? One he says Gondwana land, other one is Laurasia. From here, this is around 250 million years ago. This was the time period. He says that the world is now divided into 2 parts. If this is your Africa, this is your India, or else this is your Madagascar, and this is your India, and this is Australia, and here is your Antarctica, and this is your South America. This is USA, and then this is your Asia. He calls this as Laurasia. He called this as Gondwana. I'll show you the diagram first so that you can Imagine. See, first this is Pangea. Okay? After that, our Earth got divided into two. The continents started to move north and south towards the poles. The continents started to move towards the poles. This is what he said. Right? And he says the continents started to move towards westward and moving towards the poles. Right? The continents started to move towards the west and moving towards the poles. These are two things he said. Right? So, he calls this as Gondwana land, and Gondwana land consists of South America plus Africa plus now, where is India? In Gondwana land. अगर इस टाइम पे around 250 million years ago or 200 million years ago, if there is coal formed in India, what name do you give? Gondwana type of coal. In India, the coal that was formed during the time of Gondwana time period, you call it as Gondwana coal. Much of the coal in India was formed here. India's coal is Gondwana type of coal. Koila yahi par bana. Much of the coal. Right? US's coal is considered to be more superior core. It is way far older and it is high superior quality coal. This you learn in human geography when I go there. First, let me look into innovation of watches and sanitary pads. Very good, Anirudh. Okay. Are you able to imagine or कोई doubts है यहाँ पे? You are able to understand, right? Now, why towards the poles? Wegner said polar fleeing force. See, Wegner also did not know the reasons what he said. And see, what did he say? The continents are moving westwards. Why westwards? उनको ये लगा था. See, Wegner do not know the knowledge that we have today. I told you about asthenosphere, I told you about interior of the earth. Wegner do not know. These theories came after 1940s, 1930s. Okay? But Wegner was thinking that our continent is there and continents are moving. Now, Wegner was asked, Beta, why these continents are moving? He says that earth moves from west to east, right? This is how the earth rotates. Now he says, actually there's a conference that took place in Germany and all the major scientists were called in there. Wegner was also called. Wegner proposed his theory and Wegner is a German. Okay? During the First World War, just the booming of the First World War, 1912 he gave his theory, 14, 15, 16, 17 discussions were going on and Germany was there in the First World War. No scientist of Germany was encouraged. You know, and Wegner was a German. Because of that, whatever the idea he gave, he was always opposed. Okay? And this opposition, he was opposed to such an extent that he once, under the pressure, he said, why these continents are moving? He says that as the earth moves from west to east, the water is moving in this direction. The water will come and hit these continents. Because of that, the continents are moving. Now he says, why this water moves? Unka jo explanation tha, he says, here is our moon or sun which is there. It is actually pulling the water because of that tides are getting formed. And that tides, they come and hit the continents and the continents are moving. Can we believe this? सही नहीं है. Wegner भी झूठ, मतलब he thought that this was the reason, but Wegner do not know the actual reason is something else. After Wegner death, the actual reasons were found out by someone else. Okay? But when Wegner was there, this was the theory which he gave. See, though the Wegner's theory of continents are drifting, this is true, but rest of his explanations are false. Now, what did the explanation he give? He gave the explanation that tides, that is tidal force, is the one which is moving the continents. इतनी powerful है नहीं, right? ये तो हमें पता था. मतलब Wegner thought of proving it. You see, this was the time when greatest theories were given. Second World War, First World War. E equals to mc square. Einstein, when did he give? Same time period. ठीक है? Second World War. Likewise, bulb, Edison, all these innovations were taking place. कई सारे principles आ रहा था, and Wegner also thought that I'll also give this, the scientist, but he failed to an extent, and being a German, he's never encouraged. ठीक है? So, but let's try to learn his theory. We have to give some credit to his theory because he's the first person who is thinking on these lines that the continents are drifting. Now, these continents which are moving, he has also given the evidence that why these continents are moving, what are the evidences that we have. So here you need to learn one thing, reasons which are given by the Wegner is false. Okay? But reasons and explanations, whatever Wegner gave, it is not true. But whatever Wegner has told about the drifting of the continents, that is true. Okay? Sometimes a question can be asked. Wegner postulated his theory on the continental drift, but there is no substance in his theory. Elucidate. See, basically, his reasons and explanations are wrong. But whatever he said that continents are moving, it is true. Right? So, sometimes critical analysis and answers and all, we have to write like this. But let's try to learn the concept and then we'll move further. Now he gave 5 evidences. What are the evidence he gave? They were true. He gave 5. Now what are these 5 evidences? First one is jigsaw fitting. Okay? What is jigsaw fitting? Jigsaw fitting means today you go and look into the Africa and South America. Okay? Can I take the South American fix here? Don't you think the shapes are same? Right? So, broadly, he says that if suppose Wegner takes this and fix here, he says that both were one continent. Right? Now, what kind of evidence he gave? He first said that look at the jigsaw fitting, and he start to measure the soil, start to measure the depth and all. He gave his theory. First evidence is this, the jigsaw fitting of the Africa with that of South America. Second one, he gave the evidence of tillate deposits. Now, what are these tillate deposits? I'll tell you. Just give me 2 minutes. Plus, he also studied certain animals, certain plants. So, first let me try to show you his evidences. Then later on, I'll also give the notes to this. Madagascar, Australia. Similarity है. First समझने के लिए कोशिश करो. ठीक है? देखो. This is jigsaw fitting. South America and Africa, दिखने में same है. He said that except from few places here and there, overall they can fit with each other. Not just this, he also mapped the North America with that of the Iceland and Greenland. कुछ तो reason होगा या दूर हो गया. Now इससे पूछा Why? He told the tidal force, polar fleeing force. Next. But see, after 20 years, after the Wegner's death, that means 1912 he gave, 1934, there was a research that was taking place. And that research started to map the oceanic floor of the Atlantic Ocean here. They got to learn that जो Wegner ने बताया ना वो बिल्कुल सही है, because at 1000 meters, 1000 fathoms depth, means near about 1500 meters depth, whatever the coastline that you get to see on the Africa is exactly matching with that of South America. Now Wegner was given credit after his death, not before. ठीक है? This was studied in the year 1934, later when the World War mapping of the oceans are taking place. Now coming to the second evidence is the mountains. Whatever the mountains that are there on the Greenland and the USA, a similar kind of mountain chain is also present on Africa and the Europe. Right? These mountains are Caledonian mountains. Okay? Hercynian mountains. Caledonian and Hercynian mountains, these are two ranges of mountains. Exactly, the structures of these mountains are same. Now, how come they have similar kind of structure, the rock structure, the age of these rocks, they're all same? Well, kahin na kahin, these might have been once together. Wegner went and dated to the rocks, age of these rocks. They are of same age. Actually, Wegner is not a geographer. He is a botanist. Okay? He's a botanist. He is to study plants. He is to study animals. Now, poor fellow, he went into a wrong area. He went and studied the geography. He gave a theory which did not work. If he have studied geology in little more detail, he would have been successful. Later, if you look into, he went and studied even the species, because this is his forte. Now he studied species such as Glossopetris, Cynoganthus. Okay? See here, this is Cynoganthus. It is a sister species of Dinosaurus. It does look like this. Now he says that these species are only found in South America and Africa. Though that species were not there when Wegner was there, but the evidences of the fossils were left. He did not find this species anywhere else. If these species, they cannot swim. They are only present on the land. Now, how come these species are there in Africa and South America? Number one question. Second question is, again, coming to the Mesosaurus. Mesosaurus are freshwater reptiles. They cannot swim across the ocean and then go into Africa. These are the two species which are present in Africa and South America. One is Cynoganthus and the second one is Mesosaurus. Both are reptile species. One is like a crocodile, other one is like a short form of dinosaur. Both are land-living species and freshwater species. They are not salty species. Right? Next comes the Glossopetris. Glossopetris is a flowering plant. And this flowering plant, it is present in Australia also, it is present in Antarctica also, it is present in Africa and in South America. So he was surprised. This flower cannot fly. Right? Maybe the species when they were there, this flower has been distributed in this part of the region. He came up with this evidence. And the last one is the Lystrosaurus. Lystrosaurus is again a Triassic land species. It is not present on the water. Now that species is also present in Africa, India and Antarctica. Right? He came up with this evidences and he said, Chalo, these are my evidences that these continents were once together, because these species cannot swim. If they cannot swim, how are they present in two different continents? This was the question. So, Wegner से ये पूछा गया that कोई लक्कड़ होगा, it might have traveled all the way from one continent to another continent. या ये होना चाहिए. And the second one is isthmus. What is an isthmus? Not huge elephant. That is mammoth. Isthmus means a land that is connecting two large bodies. Do you remember isthmus of Kra? Where is it? This is isthmus. A small chunk of land which is connecting a big land with a big land. Likewise, Panama. Look here. This is a small chunk of land which is connecting a big continent with a big continent. This is called isthmus. Maybe this Wegner might have thought that, chalo, ये भी एक option हो सकता है. There might have been an isthmus. Climate change के कारण that isthmus have been submerged with the water. Right? But there could, if this is the case, don't you think that there should be multiple isthmus? There is no evidence of isthmus. Next, one island stepping stones. छोटे छोटे islands होना चाहिए जहाँ पे these horses or animals which are there, they can jump from one place to another place and go. So Wegner searched for all the possibilities, but he did not. He thought that this can't be possible, right? This evidences are not there, and for this also, कोई राम सेतु का bridge नहीं था. Finally, he says that the entire continent itself might have moved. Now he came up with an explanation that this water which is there, it is pushing this continent. But this explanation is wrong. Whatever the evidences he gave, that is true. Right? So what are the 5? Out of this 5 evidence, we have first discussed the evidence of species. Species such as Lystrosaurus, Cynoganthus, Mesosaurus, and Glossopetris. Okay? Please repeat after me. Lystrosaurus, Cynoganthus, Mesosaurus, and Glossopetris or Glossopetris. इनमें से 2-3 याद रखो, काम आ जाएगा. Right? First evidence is jigsaw fitting. Second evidence is mountains. See, with these mountains, he started to understand the anticlines and synclines. That means, see, what do you mean by anticlines and synclines? It is like this. Imagine this is a mountain. Right? This is called as the syncline, and this is called as the anticline. If I am drawing this, this is how a mountain looks like, right? So what he found out is half of these mountains are here and half of the mountain is here. That means this half from the syncline, this half of the mountains are present here and the other half of the mountains are present here. Right? How did he get to know? He got to know when he started to date back these rocks. Okay? What do you mean by dating back? You'll get to know how old these rocks are and the shape of the rocks he started to study. Then he realized that, okay, this can only be possible when this part of the continent and the European part of the continent are near to each other. This is another evidence. So 3 evidences we have discussed. Number 1, the first evidence is jigsaw fitting of the continent of South America with that of Africa. And second evidence is the fossils, Glossopetris, Cynoganthus, Mesosaurus, and Lystrosaurus. 4, 1 flowering plant and other 3 species. Third one is the mountains. Now what is the name of these mountains? The name of these mountains is, one is Hercynian mountains and Caledonian mountains. See, Caledonian mountains are present in the Scandinavia, which is nothing but Norway. The mountains in the Norway and the mountains in the Greenland, the mountains in the USA and that of the mountains in Africa. What are these mountains in Africa? They are called as, the mountains in Africa, they are called as Atlas mountains. Anirudh says Isthmus of Kra, connecting Bay of the Bengal to the South China Sea. Clear? Now we have to discuss 2 more evidences. Let's try to discuss them. Glacial tillate deposits. Glacial tillate deposits. What is this glacial tillate deposits? Anyone? There are two more evidences. Can anyone tell me what is a tillate deposit? Never heard of this word, tillates? How many of you have ever seen a glacier? Ever been to a glacier? No one? Okay. See, much of the Gondwana land was under the cover of ice, right? It was fully covered with ice. That means the diagram which I have drawn here. Don't you think that most of these continents were covered with ice? So, the continents such as, if this is Africa and this is your South America, and this is your Madagascar, here is your India, so this is your Antarctica, and this is your Australia. He says, as it is near to the South Pole, it should have been covered with the glaciers. And he says that this part of the region was covered with the glaciers. Is it possible? Yes, there can be a possibility. That means कुछ ना कुछ evidences होगा ना वहाँ पे glacier है करके. You know what is a glacier, and anyone who knows the structure of a glacier? See, glacier seems to be a cover of ice, but beneath the ice there can be rocks, there can be soil, there can be plants, there can be animals which have been buried. When the glacier moves, along with that, it will leave some evidences on the rocks. What does it do is, it will drag everything that is there under the glacier. The rocks के ऊपर lines आ जाता है. ठीक है? It is like this. You might have seen these kind of images, or at least rocks. I have seen many a times when I have visited to Himalayas or so. Wherever there is a glacier, you will always find certain evidences, maybe some raw lines. Now, what are these lines? There might have been a cover of ice on the above. When the ice is moving, much of the times these rocks which are there, they also move with them. downward. Okay? When they move, there will be screeching of the rocks between the rocks. Ice will also leave these lines, and we can identify the evidences of this. How old is this? What is the time period of them? Now the deposits which are there, finer deposits of the glacier, जो छोटे छोटे powder जैसा होता है, they are called as tillate deposits. Right? I hope you got it. What are tillate deposits? It is nothing but when the glacier starts to move over these rocks, यहाँ पे छोटे छोटे पत्थर दिख रहे हैं ना, of very small size, where glacial lines are there and the deposits are there, they are called as tillate deposits. Now these tillate deposits, they are found in various places of same age group. Got it? Of same age group, which are also found in Tamil Nadu. Okay? Now these tillate deposits are also found in Tamil Nadu. Where is Tamil Nadu currently? It is somewhere here. That means, how come glaciers are there in Tamil Nadu? It is not possible. He already gave a theory that these entire continents were one. Now he says that these glaciers are also present in this part, these deposits are present in this region also, Madagascar also, Australia also, and South America also. He says that this could have been only possible when all these continents were once together, present at one single place. And here, the glaciers might have been present and they were moving downward. Right? It is Antarctica moved towards the south and the temperatures are very cold there. Okay? That's why it is glacier. Right? And these continents move towards the north and they came under the influence of the sun. That's why no glaciers are present. Earlier, much of India was present under the influence of glacier. Now, these evidences can be seen on majority of the rocks in southern part of India. Okay? That's why I said I have seen these kind of rocks, many. I say, even if I go to any of the regions of southern part of India, easily I can see them. आम बात है ये सब. Right, वहाँ पर. He says that it is primarily because of this concept which is called as tillate deposits. So this is what is your tillate deposits are present in all the continents of similar age. That means they might have been present at one place. And the next evidence which he gave is placer deposits. What are placer deposits? Anyone? The next, placer deposits of gold. Placer deposits of gold veins. See, placer deposits means he went and studied Ghana coast. Now, where is Ghana coast? Near to the equator. This is Ghana coast. Okay? He started to study this part of the area, and while he studies, he found that there are some small placer deposits of gold. Okay? Gold का छोटे छोटे pieces मिल रहा है. But in reality, you should not get gold geologically here. He says that the source of these placer deposits are somewhere in Africa. It is somewhere here. See, what are placer deposits? To make it little more simpler, let me first explain you what are placer deposits. See, imagine, you know that this is Ganga river. Where is the source of the river? This is somewhere in Uttarakhand, Gangotri glacier. Right? So don't you think that this river is transporting the material from Uttarakhand and depositing them in Bangladesh and Bay of Bengal and the Bengal region? Alluvial soil, maybe arsenic. यहाँ पे arsenic का pollution बहुत ज़्यादा होता है. ठीक है? Ever seen arsenic pollution? उनके पैरों पे आर्सेनिक जो है ना, इट गेट्स डिपॉजिटेड. ठीक है, ये इनका गलती कुछ भी नहीं है. ऑल दिस, देयर इज नो मिस्टेक ऑफ पीपल हु आर लिविंग इन दिस पार्ट ऑफ द एरिया. Arsenic is naturally present in the water. Arsenic is naturally present on the earth. But little amount of arsenic you will see in Himalayas. Now that material is being transported by the river Ganga and they get deposited in Bengal. Where is the source of the arsenic? Himalayas. Right? Had if that river is not there, that arsenic concentration would be high here. My question is, had if there is no river called Ganga, will the arsenic deposits be higher concentration in Bengal? No. Where is the source? Now this is a hypothetical example I am giving to make you understand. The source of this arsenic is in the Himalayas, higher concentration mein hai. So you call this as source. This is the area of source. And its deposits are seen here in, we call this as placer deposits. Right? Now, maybe down the line, 1,000 years after, if Ganga is no longer there, imagine that Ganga got filled completely and this became a plain area. So later on, Shaurya comes to the picture and he starts to study how come these placer deposits are here and the source here. Shaurya will say that there could have been a river. That river might have transported this material from here. Maybe for some reasons this part of the area got divided. Now just imagine this is your South America and this is your Africa. Right? And it got divided. It is like this. So what he says is that placer deposits and this is the source. How come the source is here and the placer deposits of gold? Now here this is the gold's placer deposits. That means he says that these two might have been once together. They might have been once together and there is a river which is flowing like this, and this river source is here and the placer deposits are here. He says that there was a river that carried all this source and deposited here. Today, after the continents got drifted, he says that this is where the placer deposits are there and Africa is the one which is extracting the gold. But he says the source of the gold is here and there was a river. This is called as the placer deposits. I did not get. Shaurya's question is, he says that, sir, Africa and rest of the world, Africa and South America, they might have been together. But he says that rest of the world alag hai. But he's also giving the evidences of tillate deposits and the age of the placer deposits, the age of the fossil fuels which he gave, and the age of the rocks which are present here, they are all matching with each other. Exactly, all of this age dates back to 250 million years. Now, how can you say that there is half of the rock is here and half of the rock is here? Number one, this is also around 250 million years. And number two, here placer deposits and source, both of them. This is source, placer deposits. This is also exactly 250 million years ago. He says that they are of same age. And he measured the shape. This is also there. Same age. And he also measured the fossil fuels which are present here. And the tillate deposits age. All are dating back to the range of 250 million years to 55, 30, 40, 10 million years. So this manner, he says that our entire earth was once called a big continent by the name Pangaea, and as per the dating of the material which he got, he says that this is how the division took place. Now, what are the 5 evidences? Jigsaw fitting, number 1, you know. So, whenever you draw in the exam, I want you to draw these diagrams. Africa and South America. ठीक है. Fossil evidences, again 4 fossils है, ये याद करना है आपको. India, Madagascar, maybe Australia, Antarctica. So there are 2 species which are only found in one here and the other one is here. Rest, he says that there is a species which is present across all the regions and there is one species which is present here. ये एक फूल है, Glossopetris, ठीक है. Cynoganthus, Lystrosaurus and Mesosaurus. ठीक है, ये याद करना है. Next, mountains, Caledonia, Atlas Mountains and Appalachian Mountains. Now, where are these mountains present? See, the mountains which are present in Africa are called as Atlas. Exactly a similar kind of age, you see these rocks. These are Appalachian Mountains in USA. You can also open your atlas and look into. And here, Caledonian Mountains and Hercynian Mountains between Greenland and, the Norway and the Greenland. Right? This is another evidence. Glacial tillate deposits, pata hai aapko. And the last one is placer deposits between these 2 continents. Now, these are the 5 evidences he gave. But when he is asked what are the forces of drifting, which forces are the ones which are drifting these continents, he said 2. 1, tidal force. Okay? And other one is polar fleeing force. What is this polar fleeing force? He says that Earth is rotating. So, the shape of the Earth you see, and ये सब झूठ है, ठीक है? Whatever the evidences he gave, these are correct. Right? This is true. Whatever the explanations he gave, false. And whatever the forces he named, again false. The first force is polar fleeing force. Now, what do you mean by polar fleeing force? Our Earth shape is like this. If you put anything here, he says that it will not withstand there. Rather, it will leave the poles. Or else, you put near to the poles, he says that Earth's shape is in such a way, it is rotating, so everything will come towards the equator. Flat at poles, bulged at center, but he says that anything near to the polar region, which is bulge area pe, it has to come down. But this is not a valid argument. So these are the evidences which are given by Wegner. Tidal force to pata hai aapko. What is tidal force? Water coming and pushing the continent. Continent keeps on moving. This is what he thought. And he believed in the concept of the Earth was like this. He says this is the crust. So simply, let's try to understand what Wegner said. He says, this is Sial. Okay? And this, let's not go into detail. He says that there are waves coming in, and these waves are pushing the entire continent, so this continent moves. Is it so? Such a big continent, when these waves are coming, he says that this continent is moving. Not a valid argument. So these are the Big Bang, this is what is the Wegner's theory. Okay? Clear till here? I want you to read chapter number 4 of class 11. Chapter number 4 of class 11 from the Fundamentals of Physical Geography book. कोई डाउट्स यहां तक? And remember, in the entire Wegner's theory, till date, only few things are considered to be true. Rest of the things are false. Got it? Clear? And see, the advantage of just geography is that if you are writing these 5 keywords and drawing the diagrams, even the examiner cannot take marks away from you. Okay? But think of a subject called socio, political science, or public administration, in which thinkers are more. एक thinker का कहना ये है, दूसरा thinker का कहना he'll say why. ठीक है? There are 2 boys and 2 girls in this room. They say, one says that there is egalitarian society. The other one says that no, there are third person who is called a faculty, and this faculty is the one which is driving the entire classroom. One comes up with a different perspective. ठीक है? It is a driven society. सभी का अपना अपना व्यूज होता है. अब इश्यूज क्या बनता है ना, यू हैव टू चेक फॉर यूर सेल्फ, आर यू अ पर्सन who is scientific, who can understand things easily and then give the answer with logics, जहाँ पे marks नहीं काट सकते हैं in terms of your examiner. But if you are a thinker who you can think with different perspectives, then your optional should be in the thinkers optionals like sociology and political science. They have many thinkers in that. ठीक है? And if you are logical person and marks आसान से you can understand logics, especially for engineering students and those students who are good with sciences, logics and all, उनके लिए ये subject काफ़ी अच्छा subject है. ठीक है? If you are able to understand these content which is there in the class, and if you can write, that means you can absolutely go for geography. Now this is what I say in the beginning, take some time before you decide your optional. What is that taking some time? You read social also, you read political science also, you also read geography. Now you see, while you are writing, which part of the area you can score well. No doubt, geography is little vast, political science is little vast, social syllabus is little less, but nevertheless, each subject takes similar amount of time. Now this subject has advantage in GS1 also. Today we are spending, the geography takes 35 to 40 classes. ठीक है? If someone has an optional, they need not attend these classes. Simply you can sit in directly an optional class and leave all of this. You can save 1.5 months time. Environment is also there. You add another 25 days classes to that, 20 classes to that. You'll save 2 months of your time. You can directly enter into the optional classes. Likewise, someone who is taking sociology optional, they also have an advantage. Socio takes another 15-20 classes to complete. Now the 20 classes of GS you need not attend. Save your time. Go sit back home and then directly attend the optional class. Political science is there. Now that political science thinkers are too many. So there are some advantages to that also. So that's why spend some time and check your comfort levels with the teaching styles of the faculty of other subjects also. And you check for your subject, which is your subject. Are you able to score well or not? Do you feel bored by reading this subject or not? You have to check these components and then decide this is my optional. Whatever it is, be it geography, socio, political science, public administration, whatever, you should be comfortable, one who is teaching you, other one you should be comfortable with yourself, and you should be comfortable in writing also. 3 things. Now this decides your optional. Right? No matter whatever the subject is, be it anthropology, be it philosophy. देखो पढ़ने में अच्छा लगता है कुछ subjects, but लेकिन लिखने में ना, it will go above your head. So don't go for those kind of subjects, especially psychology, until and unless you have a majors in it. Maybe you're having masters in it, then go for it. ठीक है? Philosophy, masters in it, then go for it. Philosophy बोलने में अच्छा है, ठीक है? But लिखने में नहीं. You need marks. See, examiner को ना, never know how many years you are preparing from. Examiner never knows. How are you going to tell that I am preparing for such a long time? It is only through your answers. Even a person who is writing for the first time and a person who is giving their 3rd attempt, 4th attempt, 5th attempt, examiner do not know the difference. At the end, examiner के पास 2 पेपर आता है. ये अच्छा लिखा है तो मैं मार्क्स दूंगा, या अच्छा नहीं लिखा है मैं नहीं दूंगा. इफ़ यू आर नॉट गोइंग टू फाइट योर राइटिंग यू विल नॉट क्लियर दिस एग्जाम. ये एग्जाम उन्हीं का क्लियर होता है जिसका हाथ चलता है. रिमेंबर दिस वेरी क्लियरली, राइट? सो especially geography is one such of an area where you can easily grab the content. For example, in the exam, this is how you are going to get the paper, right? And then maybe I'll learn to draw the map, that's it, which will take less than 20 or 15 seconds for me to draw the world map. ठीक है? It should just look like a world map, not exactly the world map. Right? That's it. If I have to show the grasslands, here I'll show examiner will give you 1 mark here. ऐसे ही इंडिया मैप ड्रॉ करना सीख लो. कुछ नहीं है, बहुत सारे बच्चे मैसेज कर रहे थे yesterday that sir should I have to go for this optional or not? That's why I'm clearing them. See, you can blindly go for this. It will always beneficial for you. क्योंकि prelims में you get near about 30 odd questions from geography and environment. ठीक है? Highest weightage is there in prelims. So out of 30 you score 25 from here, and rest of the subjects you pick cherry marks from there. You will clear the exam. And one more thing, if you are going to write the keywords, you will get the marks. It is the same with all the subjects. हाँ, no doubt थोड़ा बड़ा है optional. Other optionals will take 4 months, this will take 5 months. But it is also rewarding at the same time. Right? Every optional has its own advantage.